welcome to today's video. So I'm a master's student in machine learning, and I thought that I could share with you guys which textbooks that are used in my courses. To be honest, I'm not a very big fan of reading textbooks. I usually have a very hard time to stay focused long enough to read the books page by page. But if you are learning machine learning on your own, then it's probably smart to either follow an online course or to get a textbook, just because you need to be sure that you've covered all the relevant materials in depth. And also, textbooks generally contains more credible information than just random web pages online, so you can be sure that you've learned the correct stuff. So let's get started. So the first book that I used to learn machine learning is called An Introduction to Statistical Learning by Gareth, Daniela, Witten, Trevor, Hastie, and Robert Tibshirani. I probably didn't pronounce all of the names right, but and I don't have a physical copy of this book, but it was the very first book that I used to learn about machine learning, and I remember really liking it because it was easy to understand. It introduces the basic concepts and algorithms in machine learning, such as, for example, classification, regression, overfitting, supervised, unsupervised, regularization, decision trees, support vector machines, Bayes, and so forth. So it contains all the fundamental stuff that are taught to you in your very first machine learning course. So if you're totally new to machine learning and feeling a bit confused and don't really know where to start, then this is a book that I would recommend you. The next book that I've used to learn about machine learning is called Pattern Recognition and Machine Learning. It looks like this, and it's written by Christopher Bishop. This book goes into depth about machine learning, and it brings up a lot of probability theory, and I mostly used it in my advanced machine learning course that really goes into depth about how machine learning really works and is about behind all those layers of abstractions. The book is very well written, but it's pretty thick, so it'll take you a while to get through it. Even if you're just picking out specific chapters to read and not reading the entire book, it still takes you a long time to read it. And it contains a lot of probability theory and linear algebra, so I'm just warning that it contains a lot of math formulas, but I guess that's in the end what machine learning is about, at the very core, so it's good to know a little bit about the stuff. Yeah, it's definitely a book that goes beyond what normal introductory machine learning courses teach you. So yeah. The third book that I'm going to talk about is called Artificial Intelligence, A Modern Approach. It looks like this, and it's written by Stuart, Russell, and Peter Norvig. And this book introduces a lot of different approaches that are used in artificial intelligence today. So it's not exclusively about machine learning, but covers a lot of different methods that are used in AI today, such as, for example, search heuristics, logic, planning, probabilistic reasoning, decision making, reinforcement learning, and natural language processing, and so forth. So it covers a lot of different topics. It's very thick as well, and I've definitely not read the whole book, but only relevant sections to what I've been studying. And from what I've been reading, it's been very clear and well written. The only thing that I can remark on is that it's a bit it feels a bit dragged out, but I feel most textbooks today are kind of dragged out. The next book that I've used is called Machine Learning and Algorithmic Perspective by Stephen Marsland. It's actually one of my favorite textbooks, I think, mostly because it's very concise and it gets to the point straight away. The chapters are also very short, and they even give you short pseudocodes for every algorithm that they bring up, so it's very easy for you to implement them. So this book is really good for understanding how the different algorithms are implemented, and it contains topics such as multi-layer perceptrons, radial basis functions, methods for dimensionality reduction, support vector machines, vector quantization, self-organizing maps, restricted Boltzmann machines, and deep belief networks, and much more. The next book that I have here is called Deep Learning by Goodfellow, Joshua Bendigo, and Aaron Courville. All of them are really famous in machine learning, and the book cover is really pretty. This is a very popular book about deep learning, which is like the hottest subfield of machine learning at the moment. So if you're into like neural networks and deep learning, this is definitely a book that I would recommend. It brings up different modern practices, such as, for example, feed-forward neural networks, convolutional neural networks, recurrent neural networks, and representation learning, and much more. So deep learning has been advancing very fast, and there are many like breakthroughs all the time. So I feel like algorithms are kind of like coming and going a little bit, but what's in here is what's most like widely used today. So it's really good, or this book is really good for understanding like the modern approaches for deep learning, and also for just like understanding neural networks in general. So finally, I have the last book here called Introduction to Time Series and Forecasting by Peter Brockwell and Richard Davis. So this book is actually not a book about machine learning, but about time series. But I thought I could bring it up anyways because I guess like a lot of the data that you work with when you do machine learning is actually like time dependent data, such as, for example, video, audio, speech, and different types of, I don't know, financial data. So it's good to know a little about time series, because when data is dependent on time, you can't handle the data in the same way as you would do with data that is non-time dependent, if it makes any sense. So if you want to work with machine learning or with data science, this is something you should know about. So if you're working with time series or plan to work with time series in the future, then this book might help you to avoid some common mistakes people make with time series in machine learning. Alright, I think that was all my machine learning related textbooks. I'll put the titles and the name of the authors in the description box below, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to like ask me them in the comments below, and otherwise I'll just see you guys in my next video. Bye!